morning, everyone. For today's presentation, I have a verse from the 17th chapter. The 17th chapter in the Gita is called Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogam. This is the chapter in which Krishna explains and teaches about Shraddha. There is really no adequate word to translate Shraddha into English. The closest we have is faith. Faith is what we hold in our hearts. It is the inner core of a human being. And it is the sum of all the values we believe in and we have been believing in. And it shapes us. It makes us who we are. So it's not an exaggeration when we say we are made up of our faith, because it influences all aspects of life, the day-to-day activities, the societal activities, physical activities, mental makeup, intellectual makeup, psychological behavior, and finally our spiritual evolution. And Krishna says faith is of threefold. There is sattvic faith, rajasic faith, and then there is tamasic faith. And how do we differentiate them? When we talk about sattvic faith, it is the most evolved of all the faiths, because it leads us to have purity of mind, and it helps us and motivates us to give and do good to others, hence to the society. So it promotes selflessness, and the color representation is white. And it is predominantly peace and love. The second Shraddha is Rajasic type of Shraddha, which is full of self-centered type of activities, driven by ambition and driven by desire, insatiable desire to get one after the other and after the other. However, it can be very creative, and typically it is associated with restlessness, because we want to go on to the next one, to the next one. So the color representation here is red, and the emotion is passion, wanting, wanting, wanting. And the final Shraddha is tamasic in nature. In this Shraddha, it is dominated by thoughtlessness, carelessness, where when we possess this dominates, it can lead to harming oneself or even others. And there can be evil motivations, and can lead to activities such as gambling, addiction. And it can be recognized by characteristics such as dullness, laziness, heedlessness. So the color representation of this type of tamasic Shraddha is black, and it's dominated by ignorance. And typically we are a combination of all these Shraddhas at various points of our lives and the various times of our lives. And Krishna in this chapter describes how Shraddha affects some important aspects of our lives. First, he talks about food. Do we eat foods that are nutritious, that are helpful, or are we eating foods that are harmful and dangerous, either immediately like food poisoning, or it could be like long-term leading to heart disease, stuff like that. He then talks about the type of worships we do. We Do we live a life of worship where we are living a life of offering to God, helping the society, or are we just taking, or have become a burden to the society? Then he talks about the type of discipline we follow. Do we watch how we live and how we take care of this body, this mind? Do we watch what we say, what we think? And finally, he talks about the type of charity we do, how Shraddha affects the type of giving we do. Are we giving instead of taking and hoarding? So he talks about all these aspects. And I'm going to talk about dana today because it's a very important topic which is common to almost all religions. And it is also related to a word in Latin, which is donum. Donum means giving, gift, presenting. And interestingly, this word dana is mentioned even in Rig Veda, which is the oldest piece of literature known to man. So since that time, it is such an important topic, it was also mentioned in the Rig Veda. Why is it important? Dana expands our hearts. It fosters compassion to fellow beings, and it increases the attitude of service and reduces the attachment to the world. Most of the suffering is because we are so attached to the world and depend on the world to keep us happy. And that attachment can be, reduced with dana and not be worried about just possessions and material things. So in other words, dana facilitates daiva arpana buddhi, giving, serving, which is the basis of karma yoga, living a life as an offering to God, the divine, worshipping him through service. Interestingly, it's also mentioned in one of the Puranas. The Skanda Purana recommends that we tithe 1/10 of what we have earned rightfully, not in a wrong way, like stealing or deceiving someone. It doesn't talk about that type of money. Rightfully earned money, 1/10 we are supposed to be tithing because we owe it to the society. And even in the Mahabharata, it mentions about giving. Don't just worry about getting something back. Just give. And one of my friends, she used to live here, Dr. Pandya, she used to tell me, Rama, every dollar we earn is not completely ours. Only we get to enjoy part of it. Most of it goes back to the society in one form or the other, and that is so true. So how do we do dana? How do we give back to the society? And Krishna says, for that we go to the 20th verse in this chapter. He says, 17:20, Datavyamiti yaddanam diyatena pakarine deshe kale cha patre cha tad danam satvikam smukam. He says, that charity, that giving, that service, which is given out of sheer sense of duty, without expecting anything back in return, and given to a worthy person, and given at a proper time and place, that is said to be sattvic. So you just don't give, haphazard way. There is a method to giving, Krishna says. And datavyam is to give with an attitude that this is my duty. This is, my purpose in life. And again, it's the principle of karma yoga. So what Krishna says is any particular situation that calls for giving, the response we should have is to give. And this is something I need to be doing. This is to be done by me. I can't wait to give, should be the attitude, he says. Why? He explains in the 3rd chapter, 12. He says, Tair dattana pradayabhyo yo bhunte stena eva saha. He who enjoys gifts given to him or her from this world and all the blessings that one receives without offering his or her share in return is verily a thief, Krishna says. You're taking and not giving back. So a member of the society should not only consume all the benefits of the society, but should become a contributor, giving back. Okay? Otherwise, that person becomes a liability to the society, becomes a burden to the society. So that is how important it is, giving. Giving is equal to serving God. In Telugu, we say, Manava Seva, Madhava Seva. Serving people is serving God. And this giving is so important. Krishna emphasizes again in the 18th chapter. He says, Nachashu Shushave Vacham. Means one who is not in this frame of mind of giving back to the society, my teaching is not for that person. It's not going to help that person. One has to be in the mode of service to the society to be able to benefit from my teaching in this Gita, he says. So, he says we should do it as a duty. And he also explains further what that means. Anupakarine means expect nothing in return. In return, there are 2 areas to think about. One is that in the future, well, I have helped you. I expect you to help me back. What can I get from you? He says sometimes we are helping the meek, the weak, the feeble, that type of people who may never be able to help us back. But even when you're helping someone who can get to a position of being able to help you back, don't expect it. If they help you, just fine. But getting back something from that person should not be your motive, is what Krishna is talking about. Or don't help just because they have helped you in the past. It's good if they have helped you to help them back. Nothing wrong in that. But don't just make that as a motive too. Only help people who have helped you, or only help people who you think is going to help you back. No, either way, that is not sattvic type of motive. Motive is to say, this is my duty, I'm going to give back, and I expect nothing back. When we give something and expect something back, it's more like a transaction. That's what Krishna talks about. It's more like an investment. And that's what happens in Rajasic type of giving. And what is Rajasic type of giving? He explains. In the 21st verse, in the 17th chapter, he says, Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya vapunaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasamskrutam. So on the other hand, the charity that is given for the sake of being helped in return, or reaping the rewards, because I helped and I got some rewards out of it in the future, or done reluctantly, grudgingly, forcefully, is considered rajasic, he says. Pratyupakarartham. That is what it means to get something in return. And making the person who's receiving the help from us indebted, obligated. Okay. Or it could be like wanting some, fame for it, name recognition for it, feeling big in our head kind of, I am the one who is doing this type of thing. No, that's Rajasic type of doing. Also, doing it for punya. If I do this, I'll have punya, I'll go to heaven. Again, keeping our eyes on the karma phala. That is also rajasic type of giving, he says. Or sometimes pariklishta means we don't want to really give, but we give because of peer pressure or worried about what would they think if I don't give something. Giving without really having your heart in it, or forced to give. That is also rajasic type of giving. And one word about kids here. Most of us raise our kids thinking that we have given them unconditional love. But when it comes to practicality, we expect things back from them. And the best gift we can give them is to never make them feel obligated or put in a bind, corner them, having to do this, that, or call us or whatever. The more we can become obsolete from their lives, meaning not making them feel any obligations at all, the more they would appreciate, but always be there to help them in any way we can, no matter what stage of life we are at. And that is true unconditional love, even for the kids. Otherwise, it's rajasic. I, bore and raised you and did all this for you, and this is what you give back to me. That is a transaction, rajasic. And above all this, Krishna also explains that charity should be done in an intelligent way, in a thoughtful way, not in a foolish and careless way. For that he explains 17:22. Adeshakale yaddanam apatrebhyascha diyate asakrutam avagnatam tattamasam udahritam. The charity that is given at an improper place and improper time to an unworthy person without respect, in an insulting way. Okay, that is called tamasic type of giving. Why is place important? Because most of the people, when they are receiving something, they're embarrassed. They feel, shy about getting stuff. So we should be very discreet whenever we are helping anybody in any fashion. Being discreet is very, very helpful. As they say, the left hand should not know what the right hand is doing. Gupta dana. However, there are a couple of bright sides about doing it publicly. One is philanthropy when it's done publicly, like say, for example, Bill Gates gives billions of dollars. That motivates us too. We may never be able to do that type of giving because we don't have billions, but it motivates us, so he could do that and I want to do what I can do in my capacity. And the other time that is very good to give publicly is compliments. Mark Twain once said he could live one whole year of one good compliment. Nobody is typically immune to it. Compliments boost us, increase our morale and confidence. Even though Krishna says tulya, ninda stuti, be equal in both, we are human beings and we like to be complimented. So when we are giving compliment, it's always good to give in the public. It's even nicer to be recognized. Praise in the public. So then time. The time we choose to give is also important because sometimes it may be too late. A patient without proper care may die, without blood donation may die, or may suffer. Or sometimes we also should be careful about not being too hasty in giving, because most of the people are proud and they want to do things on their own. So we should not interfere also. We should make sure that the timing is right in doing what we are doing. And then Krishna says, make sure you're giving it to the worthy person, not unworthy person. Because when we think about money, money is one of the best resources in this world. Does a lot of good for education, for healthcare, for so many things. Money is important, daily sustenance. But it can also cause a lot of harm if not done properly. For example, if a child gets too much money, he would not be able to spend it wisely and may actually spoil his life. And we hear this like with people who have won lotteries, how it has ruined their lives. Suddenly they become millionaires and they don't know what to do with themselves. Or people who have habits such as drug addiction, if they get money, they may, get even worse. So it should be given to a worthy person. Giving should not be causing harm to that person. Not only that, it should not also harm us or our family, because we have the duty to take care of ourselves first, our families first, and then some. So we should not be giving at the cost of harming ourselves or our family. So charity starts at home, first with us, taking care of ourselves. And Rockefeller always said that it's easy to make money than to give it properly, give it appropriate ways. It's very, very difficult, he would say. And he was one of the richest people that the world has known. And Krishna finally also says, when you're giving it with care, with respect, not just throw resources or money at people in a demeaning way, asakrutam, no. And it should be also not be insulting, avagnata, making the person feel ashamed or belittled. No, it should be done with care and respect, Krishna says. And also when we are giving, we should also feel no contempt in our heart. And we should feel enriched by giving, not feel like we have lost something. And the important point in all this is, like Swami Vivekananda used to say, that when you're giving, be grateful to the person who's receiving, because that person is giving you a chance to know who you are, if you're able to do a generous thing or not. He's giving you an opportunity to better yourself to begin with. So really do it with gratitude and feel enriched with the experience. So what does this all mean in our day-to-day life? How do we give? So let us look at some practical points. One of the simplest ways is to volunteer. And this country, the fabric of this country is made up of volunteers. USA is an excellent example. It is said that more than 63 adults in this country volunteer at one point or the other. That is 1/4 of all the adult population, more than 25%. And it is equivalent to more than $200 billion, their time and resources. It's amazing how much people donate all sorts of things, time, resources, all that. So and where do they volunteer? Many places: nursing homes, hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, non-profit organizations, disaster relief. And especially with the disaster relief, we need to be careful that we're not in the way. It's so common after a disaster. Many people volunteer immediately. There are more than enough people, and they may be in each other's way. We need to also be careful about that and be, sensitive to the needs even later. So why is volunteering important? Because it, first of all, helps us to meet new people, learn new skills, and feeling good. We have this innate need to be needed, and it satisfies that need when we are helping people and helps us to feel a purpose in life, avoids loneliness, and all these improve our health. So from giving blood to bone marrow, to organ donation, to neighborhood watch, to random acts of kindness, there is no limit. We can be so creative, and when you go online, there are so many opportunities to volunteer. And one of the interesting things I was reading recently is to read books or make audio books for the blind so they can enjoy them, or visually impaired people. So there is not one way. There are so many, opportunities, creative ways to be able to give. You name it and you can find them. The point is to be ready to give. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So the opportunities are unlimited depending on our imagination. The other important point that I have learned in life, which I try to practice, which is a very challenging thing to do, is listening. Listening is one form of giving, one of the best ways to give back, one of the most precious gifts we can give. And when somebody is talking, to be able to listen without judging, without rushing, without interrupting, and being a confidant, it takes a lot of practice to be able to do that. We are so used to interrupting people, so used to saying our, whatever opinions, whatever. Many times people want to talk, not just because they want solution, but they want somebody to listen to, and they feel better by just airing it out. But we are so impatient. We say, why can't you do that? Why don't you do this? Instead of letting them have their time. And not only when they are in distress and talking, we are also interrupting when they are sharing something nice. For example, somebody is talking about their grandchild or their accomplishments of whatever, job, business, whatever. We are also rushing at the same time, wanting to say about our family, our grandchildren, how good they are, how intelligent they are, or what all we have accomplished, instead of letting them have their moment of glory. They enjoy sharing that, let them share. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to be engaged, let that person feel that we are listening to them, not tuning them off, yet not interrupting them. It's a great skill that takes a lot of practice to do that. So charity does not have to be great, giving big donations of money, riches, resources. It can be a kind word, a nice smile, sweet smile, which is always available, a helping hand. So just being a source of love, comfort, support, And Mother Teresa would say, we cannot always do great things, but we can do so many things, even small things, with great care and love and dedication. And you might have heard about Sudha Murthy, Mrs. Sudha Murthy, who is the wife of one of the richest people in India, Infosys company. And she is a great philanthropist. However, she also says philanthropy doesn't mean just giving dollars. She means philanthropy means to become compassionate from the heart to somebody's difficulty, somebody's challenge, somebody's struggle. Putting ourselves in their shoes and be there for them in any way we can. And sometimes accepting, receiving can be giving, because if somebody is giving us a compliment, they enjoy it when we receive it, with humility. Or when they are giving us a gift, if we receive it, it makes them happy. So giving can be, by receiving, we can be giving it also. So it's not about what we leave resources-wise for people, but what we leave in their heart after each encounter with anybody is the most important thing that Krishna is talking about. The other way. And this is the most important thing, and that is our duty, to be able to be in that mode. And if they need stuff, nothing is wrong in giving. Somebody needs money or resources or whatever support, if we can, it's also good, but it doesn't have to be just resources, is what we are talking about. And when we give in return, we receive what we give. The more peace we give, the more peace we get. The more love we give, the more love we get. The more compassion we give, the more compassion we get. Not necessarily from that person. It just swells up in our heart more and more. So the most important thing here is, unlike resources, material things, the more money we give, the less money we have. The more whatever things we have, property we have, we give, we'll have less property. But this thing that is within us, the more we give, the more we get. It's a very interesting phenomenon that happens when we give. And Krishna says, so be hungry. Be hungry always to give, because to get everything, it is said that you have to give everything that is from the heart. And in the prayer of Saint Francis, he says, for it is in giving that we receive. It just happens that way. And in closing, I would like to say a quotation from Gandhiji, who said, if you are having a bad day, if you are feeling down, just go do something nice for somebody. It makes your day and hopefully that person's day also. That's the best way to feel good, by giving. And that's my presentation. Thank you.